Lonely Lumberjack gave shelter. Apache boy held his father's Bible by the wounded girl. Before we journey back to the rugged terrain of the American frontier, I want to welcome you to another captivating story on our channel. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now to join our growing community of story lovers. And I'm curious, where in the world are you listening from today? Drop a comment below, letting us know what corner of the earth you're experiencing this tale from. Your support helps these stories reach more people, and I'd be truly grateful to know who's on this journey with us. Now, settle in as we travel to the untamed wilderness of the American Old West, where unlikely bonds form amidst the harsh realities of frontier life. The axe bit deep into the pine with a satisfying thunk that echoed through the forest. Samuel Blackwood withdrew the blade and swung again, his weathered hands steady despite the decade of solitude that had turned his once dark beard the color of winter frost. At 43, Sam had lived alone in these Colorado mountains for nearly 10 years, speaking more to the trees he felled than to any human soul. October had arrived early in 1878, painting the aspen trees gold against the evergreen backdrop. The first dusting of snow had already visited the higher elevations, a gentle warning of the harsh winter to come. Sam wiped sweat from his brow and gazed down the slope toward the small cabin he'd built with his own hands, a testament to his desire to escape a world that had taken everything from him. "One more load before sundown," Sam muttered, his voice rough from disuse. He'd arranged his timber business through Tom Bradley, the only man from town he'd allow to visit his property. Tom would come once a month with supplies, pay for the timber, and leave without asking the questions that lingered in his eyes. As he prepared to head back to his cabin, a sound caught his attention, a snapping twig, followed by the soft shuffle of feet trying to move quietly. Sam reached for his rifle. "Show yourself," Sam called out. "I mean no harm if you don't." A figure emerged from behind a large boulder, a boy no more than 12 or 13, with copper skin and straight black hair that hung past his shoulders. His clothes were a mixture of traditional Apache garments and discarded American items, dirty and torn in places. "You alone, boy?" Sam asked, scanning the trees for others. The boy didn't respond, but his eyes darted briefly before returning to Sam's face. "Hablas inglés? Do you speak English?" Sam tried again. "Yes," the boy finally answered, his voice barely audible. "I speak English." Sam nodded slowly. "You hungry? I've got stew down at my cabin." After a long moment, the boy gave a slight nod. Sam picked up his rifle, slung it over his shoulder, and began to pull the loaded sled down the path. He didn't look back, but he could hear the boy following at a cautious distance. Inside the cabin, Sam stirred the stew hanging over the fireplace flames. "Sit," Sam said, gesturing to one of the chairs. "What's your name, boy?" The boy remained standing. "Dakota," he finally answered. "It means friend to everyone in Dakota." A flicker of irony crossed his young face. "You're a long way from Dakota territory," Sam observed, reaching for 2 wooden bowls. "My mother was Dakota. My father is Apache." The way Dakota emphasized the present tense of is made Sam glance at him more carefully. "And where is your father now?" Sam asked, ladling stew into the bowls. Dakota's expression hardened. "Hunting." The way he said it told Sam everything he needed to know. The boy was lying, but Sam didn't press. Everyone had their secrets in these mountains. They ate in silence. Outside, the light was fading, the golden afternoon giving way to the purple hues of dusk. "It'll be dark soon," Sam said. "You have somewhere to go." Dakota's eyes flicked toward the door, then back to Sam. "Yes." Another lie. Sam nodded slowly. "You can sleep by the fire tonight if you want. Head on your way in the morning." Surprise flickered across Dakota's face, quickly replaced by suspicion. "Why?" Sam shrugged. "Gets cold at night, that's all." The boy studied him intently, then gave a slight nod. "One night." As darkness fell over the mountain, neither man nor boy realized that this single act of reluctant kindness would forever alter the course of both their lives, or that even now others were making their way up the mountain, bringing with them a storm more dangerous than any winter blizzard. Dawn arrived with a biting chill. Sam rose before first light to find Dakota already awake, sitting cross-legged by the rekindled fire. As they ate breakfast, Sam noticed how the boy's eyes kept drifting to the Bible on his nightstand. "You can look at it if you want," Sam said. Dakota's gaze snapped back to his bowl. "My father had one. He was a scout for the army," Dakota finally said. Before. A simple word that contained multitudes. Before the broken treaties, before the reservations, before the hunting of people like game animals. Their conversation was interrupted by the distant crack of a rifle shot that echoed through the valley. "Hunters," Sam said, though it was early in the day for hunting. "No," Dakota said, his voice tight. "Soldiers!" Before Sam could question him, the boy was on his feet, moving to the window. Sam joined him, scanning the landscape below. Men on horseback, at least 5 of them, were making their way up toward the cabin. "Army?" Sam asked, turning to Dakota. The boy's face had gone hard, his jaw clenched. "Bounty hunters." Sam felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "What did you do, boy?" Dakota met his gaze directly. "My father killed a man who deserved killing, a man who murdered 3 Apache women. The army calls my father renegade now. These men hunt him for the reward." Another shot rang out, closer this time, followed by a woman's scream that made both of them stiffen. "There's a woman with them?" Sam asked, reaching for his rifle. Dakota shook his head, confusion clear on his face. "No, my father and I were alone." The scream came again, followed by male shouts. Sam moved to the door, rifle in hand. "Stay here," he told Dakota, who had reached for a knife at his belt. "Oh, they will kill me if they find me," the boy said simply. "They won't find you. Get in the root cellar." Sam pulled up the trap door in the floor. "Don't come out till I call for you." Dakota climbed down into the dark space. Sam closed the trap door and moved back to the window. The bounty hunters were struggling with a young woman, her dress torn and dirty, her dark hair falling loose around her shoulders. Blood stained her side. Before he could reconsider, Sam was out the door, rifle raised. "That's far enough," he called out. The leader, a barrel-chested man with a scar running down one cheek, stepped forward. "This ain't your concern, mountain man. We're just passing through, tracking an Apache renegade and his boy." "Seems to me you've got a wounded woman there," Sam replied. "That is my concern when it happens on my property." The leader spat on the ground. "Found her wandering half-dead in the forest. Apache work, most likely. We're taking her to town." The woman raised her head, and Sam could see fear in her eyes. Fear not of her alleged Apache attackers, but of the men who held her. "Let her go," Sam said, raising his rifle to his shoulder. "She stays here. You move on." The leader's face darkened. 5 against 1, old man, bad odds. "First shot takes you," Sam replied calmly. "A second takes the man behind you. The rest might get me, but 2 of you won't be breathing to enjoy it. Those odds work for you." After a tense moment, the leader nodded to his men. They released the woman, who immediately stumbled forward, clutching her side. "This ain't over," the leader warned. "We'll be back once we've finished our hunt." "Don't come back to this mountain," Sam replied. "Not if you want to leave it again." The men retreated, and Sam turned to the woman who now stood swaying beside him. She was younger than he'd first thought, perhaps 20, with features that suggested mixed heritage, likely part Mexican, part white. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse. Then her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. Sam caught her before she hit the ground and carried her to the cabin, placing her gently on his bed. Only then did he remember Dakota. Moving to the trapdoor, he pulled aside the rug. "It's safe now," he called softly. Dakota emerged, his eyes widening when he saw the unconscious woman on the bed. "Who is she?" he asked, moving closer. "Don't know," Sam replied, gathering clean cloths and medical supplies. Those men had her. She's been shot. Together, they worked to treat the woman's injury, bandaging it tightly with clean strips of cloth. Throughout their ministrations, she remained unconscious, though occasional moans escaped her lips. As dusk approached, the woman still had not awakened. Takoda had taken up a position by the window, alternating his gaze between the forest outside and the woman on the bed. "You should get some rest," Sam told him. "I'll keep watch." Takoda shook his head. "Those men killed my mother," he said, his voice flat. "When they came for my father 3 months ago, they said she was hiding a renegade. They shot her in our home." "I'm sorry," Sam said, the words inadequate but sincere. A soft moan from the bed drew their attention. The woman was stirring, her eyelids fluttering. They moved to her side, Sam bringing a cup of water. Her eyes opened, revealing irises of deep brown that appeared almost black in the cabin's dim light. She gasped, trying to sit up, but Sam gently restrained her. "Easy now," he said. "You're safe. Those men are gone." "Who?" she began, her voice barely audible. "I'm Sam Blackwood. This is Takoda. You're in my cabin, in the mountains above Silverton. You've been shot, but we've treated the wound. Can you tell us your name?" After a few sips of water, she spoke again. Elena Diaz Harrison." "How did you come to be with those men, Elena?" Sam asked. "They attacked our wagon yesterday, killed my escort, my father's men." Her voice broke. "I ran. They caught me." "My father," Elena continued, struggling to speak. "He's Arthur Harrison, of the Harrison Mining Company. He'll reward you for helping me. Don't worry about that now. You need rest to fight that fever." As she drifted back to sleep, Sam and Takoda retreated to the fireplace to speak in low voices. "She's the daughter of a rich man," Takoda observed. "Those men probably attacked her wagon for robbery, not knowing who she was at first." Sam nodded slowly. "Maybe. Or maybe they're using her as bait." "Bait? For what?" "Not what, who." Sam looked meaningfully at Takoda. "They know you and your father are in these mountains. What better way to draw him out than a wounded young woman in distress? You think they shot her deliberately?" "I think nothing's as simple as it seems," Sam replied, checking that his rifle was loaded. "And I think we'd best both stay alert tonight." Outside, the wind picked up, carrying with it the promise of an early winter storm, and perhaps other, more dangerous promises as well. The storm arrived just before midnight, lashing the cabin with wind and sleet. Takoda remained by the window, watching for movement in the forest. "You should sleep," Sam told him. "Can't keep watch if you're exhausted." Takoda didn't move. "My father will come for me." "In this storm," Sam shook his head, "no man travels in this weather, not even an Apache scout." "You don't know my father? What's his name?" "Your father?" Takoda hesitated. "John Hawk," he finally said. "Why, the army called him Johnny." Sam felt the name like a physical blow. The cup of coffee he'd been holding slipped from his fingers, shattering on the floor. "You know him," the boy said. It wasn't a question. Sam nodded. "I knew a John Hawk, scout for the 7th Cavalry, best tracker I ever met." "How do you know my father?" "We served together. Before I came to these mountains." "You were a soldier." Disbelief colored Takoda's voice. Not just a soldier." Sam straightened, meeting the boy's gaze. "I was a captain, Samuel Blackwood, Company D, 7th Cavalry." "You were there, at Washita River." The name of the place hit Sam like a second blow. November 27th, 1868. The day that had changed everything. The day he'd left the army, left civilization, left his old self behind. "I was there," he acknowledged, his voice hollow. "My father said most of the soldiers enjoyed the killing." Takoda's voice had hardened. "He said only one officer tried to stop it, one who walked away after and never returned." Before Sam could answer, 3 sharp knocks sounded on the cabin door. Both Sam and Takoda froze, then reached for weapons. Sam motioned for Takoda to stay back as he approached the door, rifle ready. "Who's there?" he called out. "You're very cold, very wet traveller," came the reply, the voice deep and touched with the barest hint of an accent. "Looking for shelter from this cursed storm." Sam glanced at Takoda, who had gone pale. "It's him," the boy whispered. "My father." With one hand still on his rifle, Sam unbolted the door and pulled it open. Standing on his porch was a man Sam hadn't seen in 10 years, but would have recognized anywhere. John Hawke had aged well, his copper face weathered but strong, his black hair streaked with grey at the temples. Only his eyes showed surprise as he recognized Sam. "Blackwood," he said, recovering quickly. "The mountains are full of ghosts tonight." "Not ghosts," Sam replied, stepping back to allow the man entry. "Just old soldiers who've seen too much." John stepped inside, his eyes immediately finding Takoda. Then his gaze fell on Elena, still unconscious on the bed. "You've been busy," he observed dryly. "Your bounty hunters had her. She's been shot." John's expression darkened. "Harrison's men. You know her?" "I know of her. Elena Diaz Harrison, daughter of Arthur Harrison and his first wife, Maria Diaz." John removed his wet jacket, hanging it near the fire. "Harrison blames me for his wife's death." "Why would he blame you?" Takoda asked. "Because I failed to save her. 3 years ago, Apaches from a starving band attacked a stage she was traveling on. I was scouting for the army unit that responded. By the time we arrived, it was too late." "But that wasn't your fault," Takoda protested. "Grief needs a target, son," John replied. Harrison couldn't accept that his wife's death was just bad luck. The Apache raiders were killed in the fight, so he fixed on me, the Apache who worked for the white man. "That doesn't explain why he's hunting you now, after 3 years?" Sam pointed out. "Harrison remarried last year, a young woman from Boston. She died 2 months ago, thrown from a horse during an Apache raid on their property. And he blamed you again," Sam concluded. "This time he did more than blame. He claimed I was leading the raiders, put a bounty on my head, $500. When that didn't work, he hired men to track me down, professional killers." A groan from the bed interrupted them. Elena was awake again, her eyes clearer than before. She recognized John, fear flashing across her face. "You!" she gasped. "Miss Harrison," John acknowledged with a slight nod. "I'm sorry for your suffering." "You know me." "I knew your mother," John replied gently. "Though you have her eyes." Elena studied him, then looked at Takoda, then back to Sam. "You're harboring him. Do you know what he's done?" "We know what your father claims he's done," Sam corrected. "But I've known John Hawke for many years. He's not a murderer." "Why were you in these mountains, Elena?" Sam asked. "And how did you end up with those bounty hunters?" Elena fell silent, conflict clear on her face. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I came to find him." She nodded toward John. "To warn him." "Warn me about what, Miss Harrison?" "My father," Eleanor's voice broke. "He's not well. Since Abigail, his second wife, died, he's been consumed by hatred, obsessed with finding you." She looked directly at John. "He doesn't just want you dead anymore. He wants your son too. He says the bloodline must end." John's face hardened into a mask. "Harrison sent those men to kill my son, a child." "Not just those men," Eleanor continued. "He's petitioned the governor. Claimed you're raising a war party. By next week, there will be soldiers coming. They won't distinguish between you and your son. They'll kill you both." "Why would you warn us?" John asked, suspicion evident in his tone. "Harrison is your father." Elena's hands clutched at the blanket. "Because what he's doing is wrong. I loved my mother, and I mourned when she died. But I never blamed you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I heard the soldiers' reports. You tried to save her, and now my father has become something I don't recognize." She continued, "When Abigail died, something broke in him. He speaks of vengeance morning and night. When he said he wanted your son dead too, I knew I had to do something." "So you came alone into these mountains?" Sam asked incredulously. I took a wagon with 2 ranch hands I trusted. We were searching for your camp when those men attacked us. They killed my escorts and shot me when I tried to run. They didn't know who I was at first. When they found out, they decided to use me as bait. For me, John said grimly. Yes, they thought you'd come for a wounded woman. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. They didn't expect Mr. Blackwood. The attack came before dawn. Gunfire erupted from the forest's edge, bullets splintering the cabin's windows and thudding into the log walls. Sam and John had prepared, positioning themselves at opposite windows, rifles ready. Get to the root cellar, Sam ordered Elena and Dakota. Stay there until we call for you. In the cramped space beneath the cabin floor, Dakota sat with Elena, listening to the muffled sounds of gunfire above. A single lantern provided dim light, casting long shadows. Elena drifted in and out of consciousness, her fever still high despite Sam's treatments. In one of her lucid moments, she noticed Dakota holding something, a small, worn Bible. Your father's? She asked weakly. Dakota nodded. He gave it to me when we separated. Said it would keep me safe. He ran his fingers over the cracked leather cover. He's not religious, but he says good words have power, no matter who speaks them. Elena managed a small smile. Oh, but my mother believed that too. She winced as pain flared in her side. May I see it? Dakota handed her the Bible. Elena opened to the first page, where an inscription was written in faded ink. To John Hawke, a man of honor in a dishonorable time. May these words guide you when others fail. Captain Samuel Blackwood, 7th Cavalry, 1868. She looked up at Dakota in surprise. Mr. Blackwood gave this to your father after Washita, Dakota confirmed. My father said it was the only good thing to come from that day. Elena turned the pages carefully, noting passages that had been marked, corners folded down, notes written in margins. She paused at Psalm 82, where a line had been underlined. Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. He reads this one often, Dakota said. Says it reminds him of the captain. A particularly loud volley of gunfire above made them both look up. Dust sifted down from between the floorboards. They're getting closer, Dakota observed grimly. Elena closed the Bible, returning it to him. Your father and Mr. Blackwood, they fight well together. Like they've done it before, Dakota replied. My father says the captain was the only white officer who treated Indian scouts as equals, the only one who listened when they advised caution or different tactics. Above them, the battle had reached a critical point. Sam had set fire to the woodpile where 2 of the attackers were sheltering, creating enough confusion for John to pick off 2 more. Only the leader, Brock, escaped into the forest. He'll be back, John warned, with more men. Probably, Sam agreed, checking their ammunition. Oh, but we've bought some time. When Dakota and Elena emerged from the root cellar, Sam informed them of their plan to reach Fort Lewis, where Elena could tell the army commander about her father's deception. We need to move, John said, looking out at the lightening sky. Brock will bring reinforcements, maybe the soldiers Eleanor mentioned. As they prepared to leave, Sam found himself lingering, looking around the cabin that had been his home and sanctuary for a decade. John noticed his hesitation. Having second thoughts. Sam shook his head. Just saying goodbye. Never thought I'd leave this place. We could find another way, John offered. You've already risked enough for us. No, Sam replied firmly. I'm seeing this through. Besides, I've been hiding long enough. They set out as the sun broke through the clouds, making their way toward the ridge trail that would lead them safely to Fort Lewis. The going was slow and difficult. Elena rode John's horse while the others walked alongside. By midday, they were forced to stop and rest. As Sam prepared a small fire for tea, Dakota offered Elena his father's Bible. For comfort, he explained simply. Elena accepted it with surprise. Thank you, but shouldn't you keep it? For protection. Dakota smiled slightly. I think you need it more than I do right now. Their moment of peace was shattered by the distant sound of gunshots. Sam extinguished their small fire immediately. "Could be hunters," he said, listening intently. "Or soldiers," John suggested grimly. "If they've already started searching the mountains." They continued their journey with renewed urgency. As the afternoon wore on, the terrain grew steeper and more treacherous. The ridge trail clung to the mountainside, with barely enough width for a horse to pass. Below, a drop of several hundred feet ended in jagged rocks. John suddenly raised his hand in warning, dropping into a crouch. Everyone froze. Around the next bend in the trail, voices could be heard, men talking, the clink of equipment, the stamp of horses. "At least 6, John reported. "Maybe more. Soldiers, from the sound of it." "They've cut us off," Sam cursed. "How did they find this trail?" John studied the cliff face beside them, noting a narrow crack in the rock and a dark shadow 50 yards along, the entrance to a cave. "I know that place," Sam said. "Part of an old mine shaft. The Spanish dug it, looking for silver." "Does it go through the mountain?" Elena asked hopefully. "Not all the way," Sam admitted, "but it branches extensively. Might give us a place to hide until the soldiers move on." With no better options, they made their way along a narrow ledge to the cave entrance. Inside, Sam lit a small lantern to reveal a tunnel that extended deep into the mountain, eventually opening into a larger chamber where multiple passages branched off. As they started toward the passage Sam chose, Eleanor suddenly stumbled, crying out in pain. Takoda caught her before she could fall, but his hands came away red with fresh blood. "Her wound has opened again," he said urgently. They helped Elena to an alcove, where Sam laid out his bedroll for her. As John rebandaged her wound, Sam and Takoda kept watch in the main chamber. "How long will we wait?" Takoda asked, his young face serious in the lantern light. "Until dark," Sam replied. "Then I'll scout ahead, see if the soldiers have moved on." "What if they haven't?" The boy's voice was small but steady. "Sometimes I think there is no way out." Sam considered his words carefully. "When I was at Washita, I thought the same thing, that there was no escape from the path we were on, a path of blood and retribution that would end only when all your people were dead or imprisoned. I left the army because I couldn't see another way. And now," Takoda pressed, "do you see one now?" Sam was saved from answering by John's approach. "Elena is resting," he reported, "but she's very weak. We can't move her again today." As darkness fell outside, the temperature in the cave dropped further. During one of her lucid periods, Elena asked Takoda for his father's Bible again. Her fingers traced the worn pages until she found what she was looking for, a passage in Proverbs. "When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers." She read softly. "My father used to believe in justice, before grief poisoned his heart. He was a good man once. People can change," Takoda offered, "in both directions." Elena smiled weakly. Wisdom from one so young. She closed her eyes briefly. "If I don't survive this journey, I want you to know that I'm sorry for everything my father has done." Takoda was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he took her hand in his. "My father says we are not responsible for the sins of our parents, only for our own actions." Dawn broke over the mountains, but within the cave, darkness still reigned. Sam returned from scouting the entrance, his expression grim. "The soldiers are still there," he reported. "They've set up a proper camp now. Looks like they're planning to stay." Elena suggested there might be another way out, through an old air shaft. After exploring the mine tunnels, they discovered a narrow passage that led to the surface higher up the mountain. With renewed hope, they set out for Fort Lewis, acquiring horses from a bounty hunter's camp they ambushed along the way. As they approached the fort, Brock and his remaining men intercepted them on the trail. "Well, well," Brock called. "Quite a party you've got here, Blackwood. An army deserter, an Apache renegade, and the boss's wayward daughter." Gunfire erupted as Sam and John fought to protect Elena and Takoda. In the chaos, Sam was attacked by Brock himself. As the bounty hunter's hands closed around Sam's throat, a single shot rang out. Eleanor stood nearby, Sam's spare pistol trembling in her hands. "He was going to kill you," she said simply, then swayed on her feet. Soldiers from the fort arrived, led by a young captain who ordered Sam and Elena brought to Fort Lewis, while John and Dakota escaped into the forest. At the fort, Elena convinced the commander, Colonel Rogers, to hear her story, how her father had fabricated claims against John Hawke out of grief and vengeance, how he had sent men to kill not just John, but his innocent son as well. When Arthur Harrison himself arrived at the fort, demanding his daughter and the arrest of John Hawke, Elena stood firm against her father's rage. The confrontation reached its climax when Harrison's written orders to eliminate all witnesses, including his own daughter, were discovered on captured bounty hunters. "I see I'll get no justice here," Harrison said bitterly before departing the fort. That night, he burned his ranch to the ground and disappeared. As dawn broke over Fort Lewis, Sam, John, and Elena watched from the fort walls as a column of smoke rose in the distance. "He's gone," Elena said quietly, "running from what he's become." "He'll be found," Sam assured her. "A man like Harrison can't disappear completely." "Perhaps it's better if he isn't," John suggested. "Let him live with his demons, as we all must." "What will you and Dakota do now?" Elena asked John. "Where will you go?" "There's talk of Apache families being allowed to settle near the reservation, but on their own land. Might be time to stop running, build something lasting for my son." Sam nodded in approval. "It's a good plan. The boy deserves a home." "And you, Mr. Blackwood, will you return to your cabin in the mountains?" Sam considered the question. The solitude that had once seemed like sanctuary now felt hollow. "No," he decided. 10 years of hiding is enough. Maybe it's time I remembered how to live among people again." As the sun rose higher, Dakota joined them on the wall. His father's Bible in hand, he had been reading it through the night, finding comfort in its worn pages. "I found something," he said, opening to a marked passage. "Something my father underlined years ago." He read aloud, "The truth shall set you free." The four stood together in silence, watching the new day dawn over the mountains, each carrying their own burdens, their own griefs, but no longer carrying them alone. The lonely lumberjack had given shelter when it was needed most. The Apache boy had held fast to his father's Bible, a symbol of hope in desperate times. And by the wounded girl's courage, a cycle of vengeance had finally been broken. Their paths, which had crossed by chance in a mountain cabin during an early winter storm, would remain intertwined, not by the hatred and prejudice that had first driven them together, but by the bonds of friendship, courage, and truth that had emerged from their shared journey toward redemption.